My name is Morgan Kempenar. My family and I attend the Baldwin service. We've been attending for about 2 years now. We made the transition to family church after the church we had been attending made some changes that just really didn't fit what we were looking for. So we decided to make the change. My story begins February 22nd of 2022. It was a normal day. I have 2 other boys and took them to school, went to work, went about my day. I was at work. It was right after lunch, and I remember I printed something off the fax machine, and I stood up to get the fax, and I took 2 steps, and I felt a pop. I was 20 weeks pregnant at this time. I'm a nurse, so I was hoping that what I had just experienced wasn't really what I experienced, and I was hoping it was something else, but fluid continued to leak, and I knew what that meant. So I proceeded to go to my boss, and she was like, "What do you want me to do?" And I immediately called my OB's nurse, who I'm friends with, and she was like, "Morgan, you need to go to the emergency room. You need to have Steven come and get you, and you need to go as soon as you can." I was taken back to get an ultrasound, and the baby was still moving, but they're like, "There's no fluid left." And the doctor came in and said that the survival rate for our baby was 3% chance, and that since I still had a heartbeat and the baby still had a heartbeat, they were gonna send me home because we were still living. So they said, "You will either get really sick or your baby will stop moving." And so it was just kind of like a dismissal and trying to pick up the pieces and figure out what all this meant. And my OB finally called me and she was like, "Morgan, how are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm just not feeling right. Like, something's not right. I can still feel the baby moving." I hadn't felt the baby moved because I was only 20 weeks along before this, but since there was no fluid, I felt everything. I felt little kicks, I felt turns, I felt all these movements, and my husband got to feel kicks for the first time. But they had kind of started to slow down. And so she was like, "I think you need to come in and let's see what's going on." I went ahead and I got an epidural because I honestly didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to emotionally, physically, I just didn't want to be present. And I remember praying that the baby wouldn't have a heartbeat because I knew I couldn't watch the baby die. I couldn't watch him struggle. I didn't know what that would look like. And then it was about 8:00 in the morning, and the new shift nurse came in, and she was like, "Has anybody checked you lately?" And I said, "No." And I was laying on my side at the time, and she rolled me over, and she went to check me, and I delivered. I didn't feel anything. And we didn't know the sex, and it was a little boy. And he was perfect. He was perfect. He just needed more time, and time is something I couldn't give him. And as a mother, like, that's the hardest thing, is because I'm supposed to provide, I'm supposed to protect, and I couldn't provide what he needed, and I couldn't protect him. But something, I remember talking to my mother-in-law, and I was telling her about this darkness that I felt. She was like, you just need to call out to Jesus, and you just need to tell the devil that he's not welcome here, and you need to just reach out to him, Morgan, and you need to pray, and you need to just lay it all out for Jesus, and tell him that you're mad, and tell him that you don't understand. And that's what I did. I was mad, and I remember yelling and screaming and telling him, like, why me? And why couldn't you? I would have given my life for August. I would have given my life so he could live, and that wasn't an option. But something in the darkness lifted, and I felt God's presence in a way that I've never felt before. I felt him move in a way that I can't explain. I saw him in my kids. I saw light, and I felt joy, and I felt happiness that I can't explain. And I know that it was him, and that was him showing me that he was there in the midst of the darkness.